Thanks very much. It's nice to see a half-empty parking lot out there where all the cars were, where the inventory was. Well, for consumers, the end of the clunker program is a case of all good things coming to an end. But for dealers, it proved too good to be true. A dealer here in the New York area is owed a cool $1 million. He is Brian Benstock of Paragon Auto Group. But Brian, you don't think this proves there's anything wrong with the program?
Not at all. I mean, we're automobile dealers and we're used to waiting for our money. Whenever the manufacturer has a program or an incentive, we have to wait for the money
but
to go as well.
But you got payroll. You're not going to get any loans from banks anytime soon. How are you paying all the bills?
Well, I think a dealer that's well-heeled and has good relationships with their bank should be able to make arrangements to keep things afloat until the government money comes in.
And a well-heeled car dealer. You know, I've been talking to a lot of car dealers around the country. Not many of them right now are well-heeled.
Keep in mind, every car they delivered, they were volunteers in delivering that car. They know their cash in the bank, and they know what their tolerance for that pain is. And again, if they can't float the money, then they shouldn't be releasing or rolling the cars.
But one of your fellow guys, and he's not a dealer per se, but he represents dealers from the neighborhood. He said, and I'm quoting him, "It's in the hands of this enormous bureaucracy and regulatory agency, the whole Cash for Clunkers program. If they don't get out of their own way, this program is going to be a huge fail." I mean, it does show there's a little bit of stumbling on your own feet here from the government.
In all fairness, the government's not been in the automobile business for very long. They're not used to paying.
And let's hope they don't stay there much longer.
I agree with you 100%. I don't want them in the business. They needed to do just what they did. They jump-started the automobile business. And keep in mind, now that the economists are saying that the economy is starting to turn around, I don't think it's a coincidence that the Cash for Clunkers program was a success and the economy started to turn around. Look, every time you build one additional car, you're putting thousands of people back to work. Toyota, Nissan, Hyundai, and Honda have all increased or ramped up their factory and their production. Individual dealerships are spending a lot more money for advertising and marketing. And this month alone, we're going to contribute $2 million in sales tax to the state of New York. That $2 million helps firemen, police officers, school teachers, and infrastructure. The program is a success.
Of course, for every $2 million that you add to it, the bureaucrats find ways of spending it. But I just got to ask you about the foreign cars. You heard that guy say that essentially this is benefiting foreign cars disproportionately to the foreign car makers, disproportionate to the American car makers. What do you say? The
American public's going to buy what they want to buy. And I think the General Motors dealer down the block, he's telling me he's doing great business. Yeah. The problem is they don't have a lot of that inventory of the fuel-efficient cars in stock. General Motors has 7 out of 10 or 70% of their cars qualify for the program, but the actual inventory of fuel-efficient cars is much less than that. So those guys are running out of cars.
Now, should we do this for every single, it's not just the car industry that's hurting, the retail industry is hurting. I mean, once the government begins to think that the way to solve the problem of one particular sector of our economy is to have a Cash for Clunkers sort of program, we're going to run out of money pretty quick.
Listen, they put the money on the demand side where it needs to be. When they put that money into AIG, that $15 billion, did you feel anything?
$180 billion.
Okay, $180 billion. Did you feel anything? I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel. They put $3 billion into the automobile business. Our showrooms are packed. The dealers up and down are running out of inventory. That's effective use of the taxpayers' dollars. That money is going back into the economy.
For all the problem that they have.
For all the problems.
Now, does the problem tell you anything about the way bureaucracy operates, as if we needed another lesson there?
Well, the National Highway and Safety Transportation Authority does not have the infrastructure to pay anything. That's not what they do. Maybe the IRS should have been in charge of giving out the checks, but the NHTSA has no track record in paying anybody. So it should be expected that we're going to have some difficulties.
Brian, stay with us. One of our friends who saw some of the problems coming down the road when Cash for Clunkers was first announced is John Stossel. He is author of Myths, Lies, and Downright Stupidity and co-anchor of 2020 on ABC. He's also with us, by the way, is Edmunds.com's Director of Pricing and Industry Analyst, Jessica Caldwell. Good to see you, Jessica. John, good to see you. So here you have a dealer who's quite happy with Clunkers' program. What do you think?
Of course. He's getting a handout. Anybody who gets welfare is happy. Free stuff from the government, free stuff from taxpayer. But every dollar he's getting is a dollar that isn't going to buy a shirt, buy a pizza. Why doesn't every other industry say we deserve some of the taxpayer money too? Why is
be careful. Be careful. They may start doing that.
And AIG shouldn't have gotten it either, and he shouldn't get a penny of my money.
So aren't there times, however, when certain industries are in such desperate shape and they affect so many other jobs in the economy when you need to give them a little jump start?
No. because it just pushes the can down the road, and his sales will fall off once this program ends.
By the way, that's a good point. The fact that some people are saying, you know, a lot of people, is a big buying time anyway. People buy cars before the new models come out in the fall, and therefore you just will have fewer sales in September.
It's time for the private sector to take over. The government jump-started our industry. Now it's time for the entrepreneurs and the private sector to take over.
But are you concerned that perhaps all that's happened here is the sales that were going to come in September came in August?
Absolutely not. Facts prove differently. You had $17 million annual sales rate up until this year. Now we're running at a sales rate that was under 10 million. So you have pent-up demand of 7 million units. This Cash for Clunkers program that was a success maybe increased sales by 1 million units. That still means there's 5
million units that would not have been sold in September.
1 million that would not have been sold.
Jessica, do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, I do and I don't, but I think to say that all sales have not been pulled forward, I think you can't say that. There's definitely people that would have bought a car come December, come November, when sales are slow, even next year, that bought because of the program. I mean, it was an absolute frenzy when it started. It created, you know, a frenzy amongst all people that own clunkers. They rushed to the dealership in record numbers. So, I mean, I don't think you can fairly say that those people would have, would have not bought a car otherwise.
So, in other words, you do believe that some people who were going to buy it in the fall just decided to buy it early and take advantage of the program.
Yeah, absolutely. But the media frenzy that ensued, and as well as the manufacturers jumping in saying they were going to give incentives to match the rebate program, of course, I think a lot of consumers saw this as free money.
So, Jessica, are we back to square one in September? That is, in September, are we going to see the buildup of inventory again?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to have more inventory. Prices have gone up because inventory went down. And I think when the new models come, prices go up a little bit. So I think September can be a really tough time. It's a weak point in the year for car sales anyhow. And I think after this rush of activity, where things are going to drop off quite a bit, and we could be back to where we were at record incentives, and cars staying on dealerships